Hello, Glampreneurs. I am back with another episode of Life After Beauty School, aka Labs. And my guest today knows exactly what it's like to survive through tough times. She is like my shero. She is a salon owner, an educator, blonde specialist, and salon coach. Not only did she find a way to pivot her business during the shutdown, but she found time to support us in the meantime while she was helping her business thrive. So I want to introduce to you today my good friend, Rachel Chambers. Hello, Rachel. Welcome to Labs.
Hi, how are you?
Hi. I'm good. I'm good. I asked Rachel to do this podcast because during the pandemic, I felt like we were each other's sanity, right? Like
Absolutely. 100%.
we would get on lives and we were supposed to have a conversation with you guys, but it was just kind of like supporting each other. Like, what are you doing now? How are you going to do it?
It
And
was total therapy.
total therapy. And we were in two different states. So Rachel's in Washington State, and that's not DC, it is state. And I am in California. So we found that even though we were in two different places, the sentiments and the feelings and everything was all the same.
Mm-hmm.
We were all going through the same thing. And so the reason why I chose this topic with you is because I just find that you really were thinking outside of the box during that time to help your business survive, but you always kind of think outside the box. So I want you to give us a little background on how you even entered this industry and became a salon owner.
Well, that is a very long story. I'll try to keep it short and sweet, but I honestly didn't figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up till I was in my 30s. So originally, I actually owned a construction business for 11 years and we actually built houses. So until, if anyone remembers, beautiful 2008, where everything kind of crashed and came crashing down on top of us, it gave me the opportunity to do something that I've always wanted to do. I've always been in love with the beauty industry. Before I was a hairstylist, I actually was a makeup artist. And through this journey, it gave me an opportunity to do something that I really wanted to do rather than something I was just kind of brought into. And so when my youngest actually went into preschool, I went back to school to become a hairstylist. And my time in beauty,
preschool.
Preschool.
Oh my gosh. So you went through cosmetology school. Can we just pause a moment and kind of, for those people who may be doing cosmetology, as a second or third career, what was that like being in school with like other individuals who may be like 19 and 20? You know what I mean? What was that like?
When I was in beauty school with people just freshly starting out of high school and going into their first jobs, it was really an interesting perspective because their problems and challenges were so very different than my problems and challenges. I have 3 kids at home. I am struggling to raise them, help with homework. I am also learning and growing myself and putting myself out there in uncomfortable situations and learning new things. I got the opportunity to be in a contest of a business student of the year, which, and all hilariousness, technology is not my favorite thing in the entire world. And so I had to do a PowerPoint presentation, which my 8-year-old helped me with. So what was funny about that is actually I actually finished in 3rd place out of the whole United States and Canada. Wow. And I really found my thing. I found my thing in school. And so I was at the top of my beauty school. I had students asking me questions and I felt myself in a mentoring position, even though I was learning. But I felt so powerful and just so excited for my next step. But yes, going to beauty school with people at different ages, it really taught me how to work with young people, but also be kind of a mentor at the same spot, which really taught me a lot going into my career, becoming an educator and one of my favorite things to do as a stylist.
That's awesome. I just wanted to talk about that because a lot of times we don't start in our first career, and
Mhm.
there's some sort of like perception that you should be young starting cosmetology or getting into the beauty industry, and a lot of times it's the opposite. Actually, it's like, oh, this is my
Absolutely.
second career, this is my third career. And so I just wanted to take a moment to talk about that. But let's get back to when you were saying how you transitioned out of having a construction company, going to Cosmo school, and then now starting your career.
Yeah, so I graduated beauty school and I landed myself in my first salon. And mind you, I was coming out of, an economic depression, really coming out of school. So not a lot of salons were hiring. And so I was thankful that I took all the opportunities to do every single class I could get my hands on, be a part of competitions and hair shows. So I was grateful for that because it gave me some experience to be going into interviewing at these salons. So I went on a couple of interviews and I did get a couple job interviews, which I felt so grateful for because a lot of my fellow student colleagues were not having those opportunities and they were really feeling stuck.
Mhm.
And so I felt grateful. So I picked a salon that I wanted to work at. And it was a small salon that was just starting. My boss actually was an esthetician. So she was coming from the beauty world. And I was kind of hold down the hair side. Well, what I quickly really realized is that I needed a mentor. So I
Mm.
kind of fell on my face at my first job. And I was using a color line that I wasn't fully comfortable with. And I was struggling with great coverage and just basic knowledge. And I really needed someone else there to really bounce ideas on and give me more tutoring because I tell you what, when you come out of that school and you're right there, you're up at the top of the ladder, right? That fall is hard because
It is.
you literally jump into the big pool, right? And so
Yeah.
now you're a big fish in a way bigger pond.
Mhm.
So I got pulled from the floor and was pulled from doing color, which is my favorite. That is my thing. I'm a colorist through and through. And so I went back to my mentors. I went back to my lovely teachers. Teachers, thank you so much. You guys literally counsel us through so much. But I went back crying. I went back crying and devastated because I had worked so hard to get where I was. And this was my opportunity. I had a job first out of my graduating class. I was ready for it. I felt like I had worked so hard. And then just to fall on my face, it was devastating. And so I had to make a hard decision. And I went back to that owner and said, I realized that I need more help. I need more instruction. I need more tutoring. And I know that you are not a hairstylist. And I just don't feel like this is the place for me. And
Mm.
so I quit that job that was so hard to get and started looking again. Well, as I was gathering my things, I literally knocked over a huge, giant 5-gallon paint can of primer. If anyone knows anything about primer, it spilt all over carpet. I basically
That
felt
is
like,
terrible.
that movie scene like where you see like the bad guy like or like the good guy the savior where he like lights a match and throws it behind him and everything explodes. I felt like
Yes.
that's what I just did to my career. I was just like lit the match, threw it back and was like, all right, okay, let's start all over again. And I landed in a new salon that really I found a mentor with. So that would be my hugest thing coming out of school. Find a mentor, find someone that can really assist you and help you and bounce ideas off you because you do have the education. You're just still learning and you will continue to learn forever, for always. But I found myself in a salon where I really had others around me to help me and I can grow and watch and learn. And that's how I became a stylist. But the second part of that is that literally while I was there within 5 months, I found my marriage falling apart.
Oh my gosh.
And Yeah, I'm like the cat with nine lives. I swear to God, I've lived it. You name it, it's happened. But I found myself taking care of my three kids all by myself right in the beginning of my career. And so I had to really dig deep and be in a very uncomfortable situation where I didn't have a clientele. I didn't have, a background. I am still learning. I am still growing. And I had to be successful today, not yesterday. And it was a very stressful, trying time, but I'm also grateful for it because I was hungry.
I
I
was
was
gonna
hungry and
say,
I had to make it.
I was
I
gonna
had to
say
do it.
that that is going to help you just get that hunger to get your clients, right? Because I was kind of in a
Mhm.
similar situation, second career, living with my mom. I have a son, like I need to make money today, like while I'm in
Mhm.
school, like today. But I love that you talked about having a mentor because a lot of hairstylists leave school and they think like now I'm going to make money now. I'm
Mhm.
going to get in here, I'm going to make money, I'm going to like kill the game. And then you get your first client, you follow all the rules of gray coverage and her hair still doesn't cover gray, right? Like,
Yeah.
and you're thinking that's simple knowledge. That's simple knowledge, but there's different factors, there's different things to think about. And through experience and through someone to kind of guide you, you're able to be better. And I love that you talked about having a mentor because that's key, and talking about your trials through that, because we know that our trials affect our career. And as hairstylists, we are normally givers. You know what I mean? We're normally people that we give, and sometimes we don't have a lot to give, or we're going through our own thing. And it's like you got to keep the positivity to keep the environment good in your salon. So, how did you get into deciding that you were going to open your own salon? Like, where did that come after you have went through the transition, you found your mentor? Where did that come into your career?
Okay. So the first 3 years of my career were very eventful. I was going through a divorce, coming out of just really a hard situation. That in itself, I loved my salon I worked for. And then things started to shift and change. I think that every leader has the opportunity to be there for their team or to be the demise of their team. And that started to shift and happen. And as I've lived some life, I'm thankful for that. This is my second career because I have some life underneath me that I didn't screw it up. I was willing to walk through those hard moments. And I remember a call very clearly. So, as an educator, I work very hand in hand with distributors. And one of the distributor consultants had called me and was like, "Hey, Rachel, have you ever thought about opening your own salon?" And I was like, yeah, sure. But you might as well ask if I want to go to the moon right now. I'm literally a single mom. I have three kids. I work a billion hours. I have no assets because, our construction company did put us under. We had to do bankruptcy. Luna. Oh my gosh, this
Luna's
dog. Come
saying
here.
that
Yeah.
Luna's like, hey, I'm with her.
I'm just going to put her on my lap so that she'll stop barking. Um, and so I told her, I was like, I don't know how that'll be possible. I don't have assets. No one's banging down my door to give me some money. But
Mhm.
I've always lived life um, going towards every opportunity that was open to me. That's how I became an educator. That's how I got started as an educator within 1 year of my career. They never
Wow.
asked my experience, so I never told them. I just kind of jumped in. Sure, yeah, I can teach you some things. Sure, why not? I mean, and honestly, we are all good teachers because we learn from experiences and difficult moments. So I became an educator within 1 year of my career because I was assisting another educator. And the distributor noticed me and she's like, "Have you ever thought about being an educator?" And I was like, "Sure, yeah. I've always thought about being an educator because of what education has done for me and what my educators did for me. I wouldn't be here as a stylist if they didn't push and see the potential in me to
Mhm.
push me past those very painful learning experiences. And so the distributor had called me and she goes, well, I think you should actually talk to one of my friends. She is actually selling a salon, and I think you would be a really great owner. So I went and talked to her and kind of gave her my spiel of where I've come from and what's going on with me. And I said, it's not that I haven't thought about owning my own salon. It's just the avenue to get there. I don't see how that's possible.
Mm.
And so she's like, well, I might have an opportunity for you, but let me talk to my husband and you think about it, and I'll get back with you. And so I went and reached out to one of my friends who used to be the salon manager for the salon I was currently working at.
Okay.
And I asked her, I said, do you think I could do this? Just point blank, like, is it possible that I could do this? And she goes, Rachel, if anyone could, it's you. And so I just was like, okay, well, it's either going to happen or it's not, I don't have any other avenue. And I was very unhappy with where I was working, but I didn't know what my next step could be or should be. And they ended up giving me an offer where they would carry the cost of the salon and I would make payments to them
Wow.
with the handshake. Basically, um, we did have a lawyer write up an agreement, and I would pay them directly rather than get lending from a bank. And it was the scariest thing I have ever done. Mind you, talking about putting all your eggs in one basket, if you will, for all analogies. I had just gotten a tax return, and I had about 8 grand saved to do this. Okay. So mind you, 8 grand is not a lot of money when you live in Washington.
It's not a lot of
Expenses,
money in very many places.
period, right? And so I talked to my boss and said, I have this great opportunity. I wasn't breaking my contract with him because my salon was going to be further away than what the agreement was, where if you left, you could go so many miles away and then it wouldn't be an issue. So I talked to him, and it was a really interesting subject or conversation, because he looked at me and he's like, so I was dating someone at the time, and he looked at me and he's like, so is this something like Eagle was helping you out with?
Hmm.
And I was like,
Excuse you.
excuse me. I was like, can't this just be me? Can't this just be me and my dreams and my hard work and my moment? But it blows my mind that so many times people always think that you can't do something by yourself. You have to have someone in your corner, or you have to have someone backing you, when the most important person that's going to show up to the table is yourself.
Yeah. It's
And yeah,
it's
go
funny you
ahead.
say that because I had a post that I just did recently, and it said, "You have everything you need to be successful."
It's true.
And that's it. You don't have to wait for anyone. You don't have to wait for this special moment. I mean, you do take advantage of opportunities, but you don't have to wait for someone to give you validation to take that opportunity. And as I'm listening to your story, that's every opportunity that came, you did it, but you did it afraid. You did it
100%. Yes.
you
It
did it
was
fearful.
terrifying.
Yeah, you did it
Um,
fearfully, but you did it. So you spoke to this guy. He basically tried to pour salt on
mhm.
your dream, try to crush it. And then what did you do after that?
Well, it was funny because I realized that that was his story, not mine. A lot of
Mhm.
the times people speak to you from their own experience, and what they say to you, if it's unkind or it doesn't serve you or isn't for you, it's about them,
Mhm.
not you. And
Mhm.
so I realized that really quick. I'm like, oh, that's how you started. That doesn't mean that has to be how I started.
Right.
Um, but so May 1st happens. We sign the agreements. It's my first month on the floor. I met with, there was existing stylists that were there. And so I met with them, told them who I was, my vision for the salon. And it was a nightmare.
I was gonna say, so how is that? That's like when a company comes over and buys
Yeah.
the other company, and you're like, because you're inheriting hairstylists, so they're not
Right.
necessarily who you may have chosen to work for you. So how did that transition happen? Were they like, yeah, or were they like, who are you?
Well, a little bit of both. So, what I realized really quickly is that a lot of the stylists were very unhappy with the current leadership. And so I left that meeting. They had all of these concerns. I surveyed them. I asked them what they would want for the salon. What do you need as a stylist? What would you like to see for Identity Salon? What do you need from me? And I was like, I want you to honestly answer this. And I said, hopefully throughout this meeting, you see the intentions of my heart, that I'm a real person, that I want you to succeed. I want all of us to succeed. So I really ask you to honestly answer these questions.
Hmm.
And I left that meeting completely exhausted, and not in a bad way. I really realized that they were all unhappy. So they're either going to love me or they're going to hate me.
Hmm.
Just really that easy. They're either going to love what I'm going to do at the salon or they will leave. And I had a little bit of both. Um, but I think the pivoting moment, so May 1st is when all of this transpired. May 21st, my mom actually passed away.
Oh my gosh.
And so basically life blew up in my face once again. And I always get emotional when I tell this story, but it was a moment where I had to trust these people. I had to have them show up because I had to go and do life, real life.
Hmm.
And I threw everything at them. And I have to tell you, they rose to the occasion. Those people stood in for me and stepped up for me in a way that I think only a vulnerable moment gives you the opportunity to
Hmm.
do. And I ended up having to spend every single dollar that I had saved to pay for my mom's funeral and to bury her and to take care of my family. And then walking through that, it really truly bonded us all together as a true family, because they showed up to me in a vulnerable way. And I think it gave them the permission to be able to show up vulnerably to me as well.
Hmm.
And it literally tied us together. I mean, even some of the people that have moved away, or, life situations have happened that have separated us, we are still close and we still talk to this day. And I am so grateful for my team. That number one, I have to be accountable to show up for them, but they have to be accountable to show up for me too, as well. And that really changed the trajectory, like, of our salon to really become very quickly bonded and become a salon family.
Wow. That's like, I didn't even know some of that.
I know I haven't shared everything with you, but I mean, like I said, it's lots of long stories and tearful conversations. So
Geez, I'm like, wow. Well, so the topic of surviving and pivoting is just like, this is perfect for you. So, how long has your salon been open,
we've
or
been
when you
open.
took over? When you took
Yes.
over?
When I took over, we have now been open for lucky number 7. Nothing like lucky number 7 in the middle of a pandemic. It's really exciting.
Yeah, but you're still here. So, let's talk about the pandemic, because you have a salon, not a suite.
Mhm.
And so, what I'm seeing right now in transition is more people are trying to go into the suite life versus the salon life. So
Yeah.
you had to, during the shutdown, number one, what did you do during the shutdown? Like when you found out, like, okay, we can, which has never happened in the history of
Right.
our industry, and they were like, you can no longer work, period, point blank. What was your first thoughts, and like what did you do?
Oh, well, first thoughts was grab some wine and let's think about it. Honestly, I have always been a hustler. I've been on my own since I've been about 16, 17 years old. And so, honestly, I have always been able to hustle. I've been always able to figure it out. Never in my life has anyone told me that I couldn't work,
Hmm.
ever. And so, I didn't know what to do. So my first thing was just number one, I think I watched probably 24 hours of TV and scoured the internet for every sort of like useful thing ever.
Hmm.
And so I immediately reached out to all my vendors, all my insurance companies, everybody I could think of to try to get resources, which a lot of the times was on hold for a billion years. And then they could give you no advice. So I, first of all, said, where can I save money? So that's where I reached out to those vendors. Because if I can prolong at least the amount of money that I like need to spend out each month, because number two, it was going to be told us like it was going to be 2 weeks we were going to be shut down. Fast forward to 3 months, was a very different scenario. And so I just looked at everything like, where could I save money? So I reached out to everybody. So, like, my insurance company deferred me for 90 days, things like that. And so I really, through all of this research for myself, gave that to my team. This is what I did to save money. This is what I did to do this. It doesn't make that the money goes away, but at least it buys you another day.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. I helped them get on unemployment because that was open to us. So once again, I've never worked so hard for $0 in my entire life.
Yeah.
Like, I almost wore a hole in my office chair and in my couch chair of just really trying to find any information that was open to us, which wasn't a lot because we'd never gone through this.
I was going to say,
It,
no one had the answer
yeah.
because no one even knew. Because, like you said, we were told 2 weeks, 2 weeks turned into 3 months. And then, a year later, we're still kind of
And
still
this,
figuring things out. So during the pandemic, so you did that, you found a way to kind of shift, buy yourself another day. But what type of revenue could you make for the salon with clients? Because you had a really good idea, and I was like, that is genius. So how did you even tell us about the idea and how you came up with it?
so really quickly, of course, my clients were reaching out to me. Okay, Rachel, what do I get from the grocery store to color my roots? I'm like, absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Like, please do not do that. And I'm thinking to myself, well, if I have, a couple, like, at least clients that are reaching out, everyone else is thinking about it. So I started making my own at home color kits, and I suggested to my staff the same. And and I was like, well, how do I even give it to them? Right? Like, what do I do? And I used to own one of my other 9 lives. I used to own a restaurant too, as well. So I was thinking, what's like small containers that are dirt cheap? What can I get? So I was thinking like those ketchup, like
Yep.
ranch dressing cups, right? So I knew that even just as a stylist, if you leave your color out, it's only usable for 24 hours. So I would set up one day a week to go into the salon and fill color kits for everyone, including my other stylists. Mind you, I run a booth rental salon and also commission-based stylist, but I just wanted to support them in any way I could. So if I'm going to be there, tell me what your client wants. I'll fill them all up. I got super cheap color brushes. I asked them to keep a hold of them, bring them back next time when we refill. I gave them, thankfully, we had a lot of resources. So the color company that I was working for, they gave us an abundance of bowls and brushes. So that's what went out. I did the color, measured out developer. All you have to do is take these 2 cups, pour it in a bowl, stir it up with either a whisk, or if you don't have a whisk, use a fork. Just make sure it's really blended. And then I made a tutorial video of exactly how to color your hair.
Oh, man. And
So
did you know how to do like tutorials?
I've done a few tutorials in life, but I'm super actually kind of awkward person. I love being an educator, but I am. And so me like, I figured, you know what? If I'm going to look awkward doing it, it's going to be awkward for them too. So who
Yeah.
cares? Who cares? I'm there to help my clients. I'm there to help my staff. And if I have to look stupid for 10 minutes to show someone how to color their hair, I don't care.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the most grateful things that came out of being at home, is that I just did stuff that I didn't think I was normally qualified to do, like, making lives and doing videos and doing it from my house where my dogs bark and where my
Yeah.
kids walk by. I'm like, this is real life for us. And I feel like so much of our beauty industry is this persona that we have to know and look perfect and do everything perfect and say everything perfect, when people just want realness.
They
And I
do.
think that was one of the best things that came out of this pandemic, is you really got to see who really somebody was. And if I'm your cup of tea, great. If I'm not, that's okay. And I shouldn't be so worried about it.
Yeah. You definitely came up with that idea, did the tutorial. Now, let's talk about how we're slowly opening up. You get the
Mm.
call that, okay, salons can open up, and you had to make your salon as safe as possible with barely little to no materials.
Yes. So I just thought it was crazy that we weren't allowed to like work for 3 months, but now you need to spend all of this money to reopen, which, we were all trying to rub 2 dimes to make a dollar at that point in time. So it's like, okay, so I'm like Googling stuff. I'm like, okay, so I'm where like we had to have all this barbicide, all this sanitizer, when you couldn't even find it.
I was going to
There
say
was nothing on our store
nothing,
shelves.
nothing.
Absolutely nothing. And I'm like, okay, so I can sanitize things a couple different ways. So I'm like just Googling ingredients, like best sanitizer. And then I would look at like the ingredients of barbicide. And I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, so I'm just Googling that chemical. And I came across on the CDC website a chemical that I was familiar with, and something that I use in the restaurant. And come to find out, it's the same exact chemical that barbicide is.
Yep.
And so I was like, yes. So if you
That's
don't know, just search for it.
I was gonna say that's funny because we did a live and
Mm-hmm.
you shared that. And I remember that after our live, I went and purchased that ingredient because I'm like, I can't find barbicide. I don't know when I will. So I'm just gonna do it before this live. And then someone says something and then that's gone.
Yes. Yeah, I think I stocked up on it before I started anything
You're
either.
like, okay, here's all mine. So guys, go check it out.
And then we were supposed to have barriers, right? Like
Mhm.
everywhere you went had barriers. You went to Home Depot, you went to the grocery store, they all had plexiglass barriers. Well, by the time salons were able to reopen, you couldn't even find plexiglass. And if you did, it was 3 times the price of that it was 6 months ago. Cause I actually use plexiglass for like countertop toppers or were our shampoo bowls so that you can clean it really easily.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got a quote and it was going to be over $4,000 to do barriers. And our salon, I was like, okay, well, that's not happening. So I'm like, okay, so what else can I use for barriers? So I'm like Googling once again. I'm like, large pieces of plastic.
Whatever word comes to your mind, you're
Yes,
like, what?
exactly. And so I found actually big strips of plastic for garden, how, what are those called?
Outhouse, not outhouses. Um, what is it? Greenhouse.
Greenhouses.
There we
Thank
go.
you.
It was a house.
Yes. So greenhouses, and I was like, perfect. And so for I think $65, I was able to get enough plastic to be able to do barriers in between each of our stations, which didn't look aesthetically pleasing. So I like dressed it up with our identity logo and used wood along the top and just like natural looking twine to actually tie it up into our drop ceiling. And that's what it was. And so I was able to make barriers for about $100 rather than $4,000.
If that is not survival and pivot, I don't know what is. And I know you didn't like it because I remember us talking about it and you were just
Yes.
like, yeah, I don't like the aesthetics. But I'm like, wow, that's amazing because
Yeah.
you had your logo. That's another like product placement. I mean, you made it what it could be for the time. And then I
Mm-hmm.
remember you also created a full blown video of how your clients services are going to go. Can you talk about that video, which I thought was genius because then she could email it to the client list. It can be on their website. It was like, this is your experience. So she was making the clients feel safe,
Mm-hmm.
showing them that there's protocols involved. And it's like, if they're confused, you're like, refer back to this video. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So talk about that video and how you created it and how you came up with that idea.
Well, I think with most of my ideas, they come up from a need for my clients. So by the eighth text message of someone saying, well, what are you doing for protection for clients coming into the salon? Instead of writing 4 paragraphs, I'm like, I'm going to make a video. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a video that shows exactly what we were going to do, exactly what it would look like when you came in the salon, what it looks like after you leave, how we sanitize the chairs, how we sanitize our stations, how we're checking temperatures and sanitizing hands, making sure that you have your mask with you. It just answered a lot of questions quickly, and it was able to be emailed to our client list. It was able to be viewed on Facebook and Instagram. And so it was just it was honestly a fix of time that I didn't have
Yeah.
because you're dealing, when I look at my client list, I had 500 clients. How am I going to have that conversation with 500 people? There's not enough
Yeah.
hours in the day. So it was just out of a need and a way to save time. But we got so much business from that video. I will tell you what, we got so much business from that video because I mean, I don't follow all the salons in our community, but I don't know of another place that did that
Mhm.
at the time that we did it. And so it drove a lot of business to us because we made a stand early in the beginning that we were going to be above and beyond on sanitation. We were going to be above and beyond for our clients to feel safe, because that's the thing I hated the most reopening, is that clients would come in and be nervous. I
Yeah.
love that our space was a place where you could relax, and
Well,
it
they
wasn't that.
Well, they knew they could be safe, right? That they knew, because I have been into places that they don't really have a protocol, they're way over capacity. California's a little bit different, but there's like guidelines that you're supposed to be following and people weren't doing it. And so I didn't create a video for my salon just because I'm in a suite. But I put on the website, on my website, and it said our promise to you. And it listed the things that we do. And then it said your requirement and what they had to do. And that alone made people feel safe that I'm like, okay, please only bring the bag that you need, no additional bags, please wear a mask at all times. Like we even had, masks became popular and then people are having all these fancy, cute masks and you're coming to
Mhm.
get your hair colored. So I'm like, okay, so now you need to switch your mask,
Mhm. Right.
and those things were all ways of making people feel comfortable. And so you creating a video, going the extra mile, showed people that you were really trying to make sure they're safe, but you had their best interest. And that was like a marketing campaign in itself without trying to be a marketing campaign, just really trying
Right.
to do your job correctly, you know?
Mhm.
So that's awesome. And then I want to just talk about one more thing, and it was your idea about the mask. If your clients were coloring or haircuts and they needed to take you had this idea. I don't know if you remember where it was like putting double-sided tape on the mask. What was
Oh, yeah. So I admit that I saw that idea from somebody else, but using like sticky tape that you would like hold down a strap or something on your dress. So using like clothing double-sided sticky tape so that they could unloop the masks and not have to sit there and hold it forever. Cause I mean, how fun is this to where
Yeah.
you're just holding your mask forever? And so we did that. After a while, people just didn't care. And so they would just wear like the mask that they didn't care to get color on or things
Yeah.
like that. And then, but yeah, I tell you what, those first few haircuts, I almost wanted to make like a t-shirt, like, hey, I'm so sorry if you were the first few haircuts wearing a mask, because I know that I screwed that all. It
Well,
was-
not only that, but we cut off of body position, facial structure, and a
yes.
mask. I remember I did someone's haircut and I had never seen this woman before. Like with your
Mm-hmm.
regulars, you kind of like already know, but I had
Mm-hmm.
never seen this woman before. And I was thinking to myself, like, I don't even know what her jawline looks like. I don't know if,
Right.
so I'm guessing. And I had the same thought, like, she's either gonna go home, take her mask off, and say this is an awesome haircut, or she's gonna be like, this is terrible. So like I started asking people, like, can I just see a picture of yourself? It's not for
Mm,
anyone, it's not for any, and then I would explain, as a hairstylist, I cut off of your facial features and I can't see it with the mask. And they were
mhm.
happy to just show me on their phone. You don't have to send it to me, just show me on your phone. And they would do it. And I'm like, that was the only way, because you don't want to be like, hey, if I stand back here and you go over there, will you take your mask off so I can see your face? And people are like, wait,
Yeah.
what? You don't want to do that.
No,
So
that's so
let's
smart.
so let's fast forward to, how does the industry look like for you? If I'm a brand new hairstylist and I'm graduating after waiting a very long time to take my state board,
Mhm.
because that was a thing.
Yes.
And
Yes.
what does it look like for me to start working in a salon, either as an assistant or a new hairstylist? What has been your experience? Are you getting new hairstylists that want to work at your salon?
Well, for right now, I think what's going to be the hardest is that we're still operating at 25% capacity here in Washington and have been for a while. I don't know when that's going to go away. And so right now it's hard for us all to be hiring because we can only operate with so many stylists within our doors.
Mhm.
So number one, that's hard. Number two, I think what you can expect from a salon opposed to going into a suite or being just going right out of the gate individually employed is that you have other people you can learn from. I love being an educator. I love watching educators or even any stylist because we all know that we do things completely different than the person next to us. So we all have an opportunity to learn from everyone around us. I continue to learn from my stylist. My stylists continue to learn from me. And so that's what I love about a salon environment is that you have someone you can bounce ideas off of. You can say, hey, this is my formulation. This is what we're trying to achieve. What do you think? And then you have someone there to give you ideas and to also give you ideas when you tried 7 different things and none of them have worked.
Mhm.
Um, I think that's one of the biggest benefits of being in a salon.
Yeah.
When you find a good one of people that share and give, and it's not like a constant rat race or competition, who's the best, because everyone has something to give. Everyone has a certain something that sets you apart from the person next to you. And that doesn't mean that they're better than you, it means that they're different. So the benefit is that everyone gets to learn from each other. Every stylist has something to give. And we know that if we were to all take care of the same client, we would approach things all completely different
Mhm.
because that's what we do as stylists. And with a salon environment, I learned very quickly a lot of different things just based on purely watching. Like, I think if I could give that to anybody who's just starting out, watch a billion different hairdressers. Take your time and really, so many times I see so much time wasted by people staring at their phones or watching Instagram while they're at the salon. When you have all this free education that's happening all around you, if you were
Yes.
just to pay attention, I learned so much by just watching a
Yeah.
billion different hairdressers. So take that opportunity. You're never going to get it again. You will get busy and then you'll have no time
To
to
do
watch
that.
something and watch someone else do their craft and do it well. Please don't lose that opportunity. You'll never have it again. So that would is what I would tell you about being in a salon. If you find a good one, find a good one.
Yeah.
There is
I
a
was gonna
lot of
say
times. Yeah,
that
go
a
ahead.
good salon is important because you have the salons that are encouraging you to be your own hairstylist. They want to educate you, they want to pour into you, and then you have the salons that just want you to be a career assistant. That's what
Yeah.
they want. And so you do have to define what is better for you. Maybe you are
Mhm.
at that salon that wants you to be a career assistant for a little bit and then you move forward. So you do need to do your homework on salons. But another thing that I think you touched on is about coming out of school, going straight into a suite.
Mhm.
I have seen that, and it about 90% of the time it's not successful because of that what you just said. There's no one usually in a suite, everyone sticks to themselves, right? They're in their
Right.
own businesses, they're doing their own thing, and then with COVID nobody's mixing and mingling like they would have.
Mhm.
So what is your take for those who truly feel like they can open a suite and start working and building their business? Do you think that anything's possible, right? But
Absolutely.
what would be your suggestion if they do want to open a suite and then they still need some more education? Are there other options out there for them?
Absolutely. I think that the thing that I would think it would be hard, I have never been in a suite. I've always been part of a salon environment. So for me, I'm not always my best advocate. I I know that for myself, I'm not as disciplined when it's just for me. I'm not as someone that knows how to market themselves without word of mouth or using social media. I think that that's a challenge too, as well. Um, but yes, do I think you could do it? Yes. Do I think it would be harder? Yeah. I mean, honest,
Absolutely.
it is harder because but if you can find a community, and I don't know if this exists, but I sure do hope it exists for suite owners, where you can find a community where you could say, hey, I know I have this, situation. One of my staff actually moved to San Antonio and she is now in a suite, but guess who she still calls when she has questions? All of us. So if you
Mhm.
can find those kind of people that are willing to do that with you, I think that would be super valuable. But as far as education, try it all. I mean, there's a lot of free education out there. There's a lot of virtual education out there. And then there's a lot of educators that think they're educators and making Instagram videos or YouTube videos. And I'd be wary of that a little bit because you don't get the full experience.
Mhm.
Watching videos is really great for someone who's more of a seasoned stylist, but that hands-on experience where you can do it, especially balayage. I get more frustrated with balayage videos because it is not just a pattern, it's a feeling. And to really communicate that, because I teach a lot of balayage classes, to really teach that by just showing someone a video is number one, darn near impossible. But number two, I think ineffective because it's a feeling, it's a touch, it's a conversation of what you're starting with. And for you to be able to ask all those questions and really get a one on one answer, I think is
Yeah.
really important. So be careful with what you invest into education. But there's a ton of companies that do really great education. And then I think some companies that are taking advantage of this situation. I don't want to say advantage, that's not the right word, but utilizing this part to do viral education, where really I think the most effective is one on one, hands on, whether you're doing that through a private Zoom, which I actually have taken my first educational class through Zoom, which I was really leery about, but I thought she did a really great job because she was there with me looking at what I'm doing and was able to coach me through it. So that's a very different scenario than just watching videos.
Yeah, so I do think that the virtual education that they have with an educator is very different than going on YouTube and, watching Instagram videos, because usually there is a section in that virtual education where you can ask questions. And
Mhm.
then companies are understanding that this is new, and what they're doing is they're having their educators kind of like hang back and answer these questions. But I will say, if you're watching on YouTube, Instagram, if you are doing virtual education, it means nothing if you don't grab a mannequin and try it at minimum.
Absolutely.
And that's even with hands on. I think when we're in person and we do hands on, you're kind of forced to participate in the class, but you have to take your own initiative and practice what you just watched at least within 1 to 2 days. Because if you wait for
Absolutely.
like a week, you're like, wait, what did they even say? What did they talk about? So you want to do that. So, Rachel, I want to ask you one more question. And this, I hope you don't get emotional about this question. And it is, what do you do to keep a positive mindset? Because through everything that you talked about, there had to be some sort of a mindset check to get through each situation in your life. Because like you said, you lived several lives. And what was it that you did that helped you to persevere? Because I believe it all starts with your mindset, and then your body and your actions follow. So, what
Yeah.
is it that you do to keep your mindset positive and keep you thriving through all your obstacles?
I think number one is showing up for my children. For me, I'm a mom first and foremost. And it's been everything to be accountable to them. Number two, a positive mindset isn't a perfect thing. You can have a bad day. You can have a moment to where you don't think that you have it all. And that's okay. And to give yourself a moment to take a step back and to breathe and to have a breakdown, to get it out. But I think that if you show up where you're at every single day with the best that you can give, you'll be surprised how far you'll go. And for me, I want to show my kids that they can do anything that they put their heart to. They can do anything that they want to in this life. It just depends on how hard you're going to work at it.
Mhm.
And so, as far as a positive mindset, I think that that starts with taking care of yourself first, which I didn't always do. Um, for a long time, I didn't do. But once I figured that out, if I didn't take any time for me, no one else is going to do that for me. And so, to first and foremost take care of myself, then that makes me good and better to take care of everything else around me. But to give yourself a break, to give yourself some grace, to walk through life where you don't have it all figured out. You
Mhm.
don't have it all together. Nobody does. Nobody does. We are on this big circling rock to figure that all out. Seriously. And to give yourself permission to be, I don't have it all figured out, but I'm going to work my hardest to get there. And just really make sure that at the end of the day, you celebrate at least something, because we're so often carrying all the things that go wrong. We don't pay attention to all the things that went right.
Mhm.
And if we don't pay attention to that, then you are going to burn out so quickly. We often think about that negative client, that negative conversation with the stylist, or that negative review that we have online, that we don't focus on the 8 other people that loved what we did. And we need to focus on that, because otherwise, what the heck are we doing? We're not here to satisfy the person that you can't ever satisfy. We're here to satisfy not only within ourselves, but to satisfy the client that loves what you do. So why aren't we celebrating it?
I love I love that. That is 100% so true. But it is a mindset and it's intentional that you have to make the decision that you are going to decide to focus on the positive because we're
Mm,
already going to. I read this book that said um positive comments or positive situations kind of like roll off our backs, and then the negative ones stick to us like velcro, and you have to work
mhm.
really hard to kind of shift that. And so I love that you said that. So now it comes to the part where Glampreneurs, you guys know that I always do a positive quote, an inspirational quote, words to live by every single week. So I'm going to have Rachel give me your quote that resonates with you.
You're stronger than you think you are.
Boom.
Every single person out there, you have, as you said earlier, Deandra, and I love that, you have everything you need to do whatever you want to in this world. You just have to dig deep and find that inner strength. And when you can't find that, fight for it more, because you are stronger than you think you can do, than you think you are. And you can do more than you think that you can. Always can. You can always grow. You can always learn. You can always do better. And if each day you focus on doing better than yesterday, you will get stronger. You will do more things. You will find more positive. You'll have more positive come to you because you are being positive, and you are stronger than you think you are.
That is awesome. I love it. It's simple, it's to the point, but it's definitely impactful and powerful. So, Glampreneurs, we had Rachel to just honestly pour her heart out on, on the podcast and give you guys the real of what it's like being a hairstylist in the industry through the ups and downs personally and in the business. But what I would say is that Rachel thrives, right? You have truly just kept on pushing. And I thought it was important for you guys to listen to someone who knows exactly what it's like and is a salon owner and has a family. And this is not even her first career. And I think it was important to have Rachel on here to show you guys just to think outside the box and to be stronger than you think you are, right? And so, Rachel, thank you so much for coming and talking with us and spending time on this podcast. We love that you are here, and we hope to have you again at another time. Rachel and I have
Yes.
some big plans. Okay, guys, you don't know. Just wait. So thank you so much. So Glampreneurs, this is what I need you to do. I need you guys to subscribe to this podcast. I need you guys to give a rating, leave a review, and share this episode on your social media platforms. That's what I need from you guys so that Glampreneurs like you can find this podcast, listen, and be inspired. Until next time, Glampreneurs, stay connected.